What's so civil about war, anyway? Alright, so now that everybody's seen Captain America Civil War, let's talk about it in just a little bit more detail, shall we? I want to talk about some of the characters, in particular Spider-Man and Black Panther. I want to talk about some of the things that I liked about it. But first of all, let me address the elephant in the room. For those who are wondering why I'm wearing a cap and headphones, which I don't usually do in my videos, the cap is because I had to change the bulb in my lamp recently, and ever since I changed, I've been unable to get my filter back on. And by the way, when I say filter, I mean the torn piece of curtain that I used over it just won't get back on anymore, won't stay on anymore. So it's just a bright light right now with no adjustment, and without the cap it just blinds me. The headphones is because I've seen other YouTubers wear headphones in videos, and I've always kind of thought it's kind of pointless wearing the headphones, you know. I don't need to hear myself, but anyway, I figured so many people are doing it, let me try it, see if it makes any difference, see if there's something to it that I'm missing that I just don't realize. So let me know if you think this makes any difference. I probably sound louder because these kind of cancel out a little bit of the ambient noise, so I probably sound a little bit louder without realizing. But let me know if it makes any difference, if it makes it better, whatever. Let me know what you think about that. And in particular, if you're a hot chick, let me know if you think this makes me look a little bit hotter. I mean, I know I look hot anyway. I mean, come on. But let me know if you think this is a hotter look than my previous look. Much appreciated if you let me know all that. Anyway, let's go on with this. So yeah, I want to talk about some of the characters. Let me talk about Spider-Man first, because Spider-Man, well, as I said, he's awesome. I love Spider-Man. I've been a Spider-Man fan since like forever, really, and he's easily by far my favorite comic character. So him being in this movie, super exciting, no doubt about it. He's not in the movie very long, and as much as that's disappointing as a Spider-Man fan, it makes sense for the type of film that they went with. The way they introduced him with Tony Stark, bringing him in, like going to see him and his aunt, and then talking about the grant and all that stuff that he didn't even apply for, but because he kept his ear to the streets, you know, like Dr. Dre, it made sense how he was brought him in, and then they take him to Germany and they fight. And Tom Holland portrayed the character as Spider-Man, absolutely nailed it, loved it, everything about it was just perfect. What's interesting though, like I said in my other video, there are some themes, like I never expected it to be exactly the same as a comic book. I don't think anybody expects it to be exactly the same, but there are quite a lot of themes that go from the comics into the movies, and one of the themes is the idea of Spider-Man getting a suit from Tony Stark. Now in the comics, Spider-Man already has like this super suit. It's a different suit, by the way, than what they use in the movies, but he already has this super suit from Tony Stark, and then when the Registration Act happened, he goes back into his normal suit and he reveals himself as Peter Parker. They did a similar thing in the movies where when they introduce him, they show that he has this like crappy suit that he put together, you know, I guess, you know, balaclavas and things that he just had, and then Tony Stark gets him the suit with the eyes. So in the trailer, when everybody saw the eyes moving, they thought, what happened there? That's what happens. Tony Stark got him the suit, and that's why, and he gets in a little wristband thing that with the hologram at the end as well. So it made sense in the movie to do it that way, that Tony Stark comes in and gets in this new cool suit. I think, however, had they gone with the same suit they went with the comic books, it might have been a bit, shall we say, for people who aren't familiar with it, it might be a little bit weird to see, because it is a very, very different suit in a comic that Tony Stark gets in. And for my only criticism with the Spider-Man scenes, though, was actually with Aunt May. I'm not sure how I feel about Aunt May being so young, because Aunt May has always been the elderly biddy, so to speak, and, you know, worried about Peter Parker. And also her character's a little bit different as well, because during the right at the end, the post-credit scene when Peter Parker's talking about how he got some hits from Steve from Brooklyn, and then she says, hope you got some few hits in yourself. And that's something that Aunt May wouldn't say. Like the typical Aunt May that we've come to know over the years wouldn't say stuff like that. When Peter Parker's talking about getting into a fight, she's usually the type to be all worried about it and say, oh, I wish he wouldn't fight, I wish he wouldn't fight, you know, that sort of stuff. So it's not only that she's a much, much younger Aunt May than we're used to, she's a much different character to Aunt May than we're used to as well. And yeah, so it's a bit, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, I guess it's because it's just this movie and it's a very small, two very small scenes with her. It's not really much to go on. Perhaps once the Spider-Man Homecoming movie comes out and they can flesh out her character a bit more, perhaps it works a lot better for the film. Then we'll have to wait and see. But it was a bit, you know? Alright, let's talk about the Black Panther now, because I think most people would agree that Black Panther was probably the most standout character, certainly the most standout character of the new people introduced to the film. Chadwick Boseman absolutely nailed it as far as I'm concerned, and the way they portrayed the character was excellent. Wakanda, as they describe in the film, is that they're a very reclusive country. They don't really involve themselves much with the politics of the world and so on, but so they're trying to be more involved with the world. That's why they had the people in Lagos in Nigeria, so when Wanda accidentally kills those people, King T'Chaka has to come forward and then he gets killed, and then T'Challa has to take over the king. So he's now protector of Wakanda and also king of Wakanda as well. So they had that pretty much down. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with Black Panther, but for what I understand, he is the warrior king. So they had that pretty much down in terms of his character and who he is and what he does. So they pretty much got all the key points and all the points, everything that you really just need to know in this movie. So it's almost like a pseudo origin story. Not so quite full on origin story because we don't see specifically how he becomes Black Panther, but a pseudo origin story for the Black Panther, and it works well. His action scenes were awesome, the fight scenes were awesome, how he goes from being really angry after his father died and then, you know, chasing down the Winter Soldier and then finding out actually it wasn't the Winter Soldier, it was Zemo that killed his father, but then he's hearing his story and he's realizing how overcoming hatred he's become. So we get a lot of development of this character, from him being angry to him understanding his own anger, to in the mid-credit scene where you see that he's working with Captain America, and that made a lot of sense. I've read the comics before I watched the movie, and one of the things that stood out to me is that in the trailers, of course, you see Black Panther on Iron Man's side, because in the comics, when Reed Richards is trying to recruit the Black Panther, he's saying that he didn't really want to get involved because he doesn't like it when Americans get involved with their stuff, so he doesn't want to get involved with their stuff, so he kind of stays out of it. And when he does get involved, he's actually helping Captain America. So when I read it in the comics and saw that he's actually on Iron Man's side, I was thinking, well, that's kind of interesting to see how they work that in the film. But in the film, effectively, Black Panther has a revenge story because it's his father that gets killed, and he's after the person that kills his father, which he believes was the Winter Soldier. And because Team Iron Man was after the Winter Soldier, it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So he's not really on Iron Man's side in the traditional sense. They're just after the same people. But in the mid-credit scene when he's working with Captain America, again, absolutely it makes sense. Just with a character, he's not really interested in their fights. He's interested in doing what he believes is right, and what he believes is right in this case is helping Winter Soldier find peace, because he believes that he's a victim just as well as his father was a victim. If you can help one of them find peace, then he feels he's doing the right thing. So that fits in with the character that I read in the comics, and that fits in with what I know about the character. The little that I do know about the character before, he's not trying to be on a person's side. He's just trying to do what he believes is right. So he's not Team Iron Man, he's not really Team Captain America either. So with that, I'm looking forward to the Black Panther movie. I think that's going to be quite good actually, because we got a character who isn't, I mean, he's a good guy, of course, in terms of who he is and what he believes, but he's not the traditional good guy in terms of, I'm going to be on your side or that side. He's his own person. So it'll be an interesting character to portray, and I'm looking forward to that. And maybe the setup that we get for the Black Panther movie is that Team Iron Man gets sent to capture the Winter Soldier after they find out that he's been held in Wakanda by the Black Panther, or maybe it's some other section of the UN, or perhaps S.H.I.E.L.D. come back, because, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. aren't dead in the comics. S.H.I.E.L.D. are actually a big part of the Civil War comics. Nick Fury isn't in charge, it's actually Commander Hill that's in charge of the comics, but S.H.I.E.L.D. are involved. In fact, Captain America was working for S.H.I.E.L.D. but chose to disobey the initiative, and that's sort of set up there. But perhaps S.H.I.E.L.D. come back, we'll see. They're not in the films right now, but, you know, it could happen, so we'll wait and see. Alright, so let me talk about some of the things I really liked in the film, though, because I love the action in this film. It is outstanding. Black Panther's action scenes were awesome, especially my favorite scene in the film really is the part where Captain America finds the Winter Soldier, finds Bucky. The UN guys are coming to capture him. They're like, look, they're not coming to take you alive. So they fight their way out of that, and then they get out, and they're just trying to get away from these guys. And then the Black Panther shows up, and he's chasing them down. And that whole scene was just awesome. Like, I love the part where Winter Soldier just grabs a motorbike off the guy and just pulls it one arm. Awesome scene, awesome scene. In my review, I talked about how the fight scene, how it has a very satisfying ending. And what I meant by that is that you get a very clear winner in Captain America. Like, a lot of times when you have character versus character, big character versus big character, you get a really cool fight, but then you don't always get a decisive winner, you know, a very clear winner. And in this time you get a clear winner. Even though the fight's not over, you know, you understand that from the end of the film that this is not over. There's definitely more to it, but you get a clear winner in this movie, which is Captain America. And granted, he had help from the Winter Soldier, he wasn't fighting alone, but you do get a clear winner. And I love that, you know, when they're fighting, it's just anger, you know, and they're just like, it's really just going for it. And when he gets his shield and just stabs it into his chest, and you get impressed, because you look at it, and when he does, it gets his helmet comes off, Iron Man's helmet comes off, and he's just defenseless pretty much at that point, and he grabs his shield, and it's almost like he's gonna kill him, and you're just like, but you know, he just hits it, he stabs it into the chest where he damages his core, or gem, let's say, light thing that he has. The airport scene was awesome as well. The whole thing about pulling punches, you get it because they're friends effectively. These guys are friends. They don't want to fight each other. They just kind of feel like they have to because they're on opposite sides. So you get the whole thing about pulling punches. They bring it up a few times in that scene actually. You get the whole thing, but you still get a cool fight scene out of it. And Spider-Man was awesome. I know I said this before, I'm going to say it again because it's true, but Spider-Man was awesome. Just the way that he's going around and he's like talking, that's what he does, you know. You watch you read Spider-Man comics or the Spider-Man TV show, that's just his character, trash talking people, or just like saying, hey man, that's really cool, and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, when Winter Soldier goes to punch him and he just stops, and he's like, whoa, you got a mellow, oh, that's so cool. Yeah, and it's like, who's this guy, man? That was incredible. Actually, I just remember something about Spider-Man, just something, not I don't know if this is a criticism, but just something that I noticed, and we'll see how it turns out in the film. But from how Spider-Man was introduced, you do get an understanding that he is fairly new to the superhero game of this. It just seems that he's somebody that Tony Stark has kind of paid attention to over some time. Of course, we don't know how long he's been paying attention to him for, but for some time at least, he's been paying attention to him, and perhaps that's one of the reasons behind the grant scheme that he was doing in the beginning, to try and reach out and have reasons to talk to these young, enhanced people. Perhaps, I mean, that's the impression I'm getting anyway. But you do get the feeling that he's Peter Parker's fairly new to this Spider-Man gig, and the thing about that, if he's fairly new to it, that means potentially, at least, it means that Gwen Stacy hasn't died yet. Also, potentially means he hasn't met Mary Jane Watson yet. It seems somewhat obvious that Uncle Ben has already died because, well, he wasn't there, but of course he just could have been out. And he used the phrase when he's talking to Tony Stark, he says that, you know, when you can do the things that I can do and you don't do it, then when bad things happen, they happen because of you. And I thought that was a very, very obvious opportunity to use the "with great power becomes great responsibility" line that we all know and love, but they didn't use it then. They went with something else. It's not a major thing, of course. It doesn't ruin the film, but it's just, oh, come on, man. It was there. You set it up, you know. But anyway, yeah, it does seem that we've got a more inexperienced Peter Parker rather than a more battle-tested Peter Parker. I think I would prefer the more battle-tested Peter Parker, but to be fair, it does play more into the Tony Stark character and the fact that he is willing to go to certain lengths. And they bring it up in Age of Ultron as well, that, you know, he can't tell the difference between saving the world and destroying the world, referring to Ultron, you know, where do you think he gets it from, and referring to Tony Stark. So it does kind of play into that kind of character where he is willing to do certain things to get his way across. In this case, recruiting a child, taking a child away from his home and taking him to jail and putting him in a place where he could have been killed. I mean, of course he isn't, but you know, he could have been killed. He's putting a child in danger to further his cause. And depending on how they push forward with their Civil War story, it's going to play into more of what he might do later on, which involves, in the comics, involves recruiting super criminals to further his cause. So, you know, Tony Stark is somewhat of a megalomaniac, and it does fit into that idea. All right, so let me talk about some other comparisons now, because like I said, it's not exactly the same as the comics, but there are a lot of themes from the comics that carry over into the movies. And one of them is involving Thor. Like in the comics, Thor is involved, but not the Thor. What happens is that Iron Man uses Thor's DNA, or Tony Stark specifically, uses Thor's DNA to create a replica or kind of some kind of robot Thor that he unleashes into this fight, and Thor, or the robot Thor rather, kills Goliath. So similar to what they did with in the films, is that rather than creating Thor, though, he creates the Vision, but he did that in Age of Ultron. But then in Captain America Civil War, during the airport fight scene and they're flying away, and War Machine is chasing after Captain America and Bucky, Iron Man is there, Falcon's giving chase, War Machine's calling the Vision to help him out. The Vision shoots at Falcon, Falcon ducks out of the way and he hits War Machine then falls. And in the trailer, it gave the impression that War Machine died, you know, when he takes his mask and you see him unconscious, did he just die? And also they made it look like Bucky shoots War Machine in the trailer, which I thought was really clever. I might talk about it a little bit more in other videos as well, because I like the way Marvel do their trailers. Well, I might just say it now. I like the way Marvel do their trailers, where they create a trailer that looks like something's going to happen, and you see the movie, And what they've really done is just cut two different scenes together to make it look like this is happening. You think, oh shit, you just is that a spoiler? Is that a spoiler? You get to the film, it's like no, because there's actually two different scenes cut together to make it look like something else. So in the trailer, it looked like it was Winter Soldier that shoots down War Machine, but actually it's the Vision that shoots down War Machine when he's trying to aim at Falcon. Falcon ducks, he hits the War Machine, he falls, and it looks like he dies. But of course, you see later on he's actually paralyzed. So that was a very similar theme in the sense that you got something like Tony Stark created, trying to shoot down one of the guys on Team Captain America's side, but of course he ends up hitting the wrong guy, and you know, rather than dying though, he just becomes paralyzed. So it's a similar theme, not exactly the same, but similar theme. Another thing that carries over from the comics is the prison. They have more emphasis on the prison in the comics, where they call it 43, it's a 40 something anyway, and it was to do with a number of ideas they had when they were coming up with this initiative about the registration. But you know, the Captain America team, they're on the wrong side of the law effectively, so they go to this prison that Reed Richards built along with Tony Stark, and Hank Pym is involved as well in the creation of this prison. Now going forward, it's clear that the Civil War isn't over, so it's likely going to be more films exploring it more. Maybe we'll see some of it in Doctor Strange. I doubt it though, because Doctor Strange isn't that involved with it. In fact, he has a very, very small part in the Civil War. He barely does anything actually. He is there, but just doesn't really do much. So I doubt his story coming out, his film coming out, is going to involve much of the Civil War story continuations. Maybe we'll see. I think, however, the Black Panther movie, or at least I hope anyway, the Black Panther movie explores the continuation of Civil War a bit more, because there is a lot to it. I mean, you've got Spider-Man, he has like a whole internal conflict where he doesn't really feel like Tony Stark is doing the right thing, so he goes over to Captain America's side, and he goes back to his old suit when he does so as well. So if they do it in a movie, is he going to take this new suit that Captain America gave him, or is he going to go back to that old ski mask? If they do that, we'll see. And there's also super criminals that get involved. When Spider-Man decides to leave, he sends Venom after Spider-Man, Venom and a few other people after Spider-Man, and they catch up to him, they get into a fight, Spider-Man gets beaten pretty badly, and he gets rescued by the Punisher, who then joins Captain America's side, because he's like, look, I was going to stay out of this, but they started recruiting criminals, so I'm on Captain America's side. But then what happens is that some criminals try to join Captain America's side. They weren't, I can't remember their names, I don't think they name them actually, but they're not anybody famous. They're just like some, oh, we're criminals and we want to join your side. But then, yeah, Punisher's not having it, he just shoots them dead right there. Then he gets into a little tussle with Captain America, calling him, you murderer, you murderer. So that happens, but yeah, we'll see how far they go with it. I think there's a lot, well, there definitely is a lot more they can do with it. Hopefully there'll be other MCU movies that explore the Civil War as well, because it does go on for quite a while, and there is a lot to it before it ultimately comes to an end, where Captain America decides to turn himself in. His team disbanded. Some of them still stay on the other side of the law. They don't want to join the registration. Others do join the registration, and they have super teams in each state, and effectively Iron Man wins. The lady in the film that you see who shows Iron Man a picture of Tony Stark, a picture of her son, saying that he was killed in Sokovia. That lady is in the comics. Her son's killed in a different incident in the comics, but it's still the same thing. The lady comes up to him and is angry that that they killed her son. She blames him for killing her son, but they become friends, and she's really impressed with what he's done. So there's a lot that could happen, there's a lot they could explore, and hopefully they do that over the future movies. But we'll see. And that is what I think of Captain America: Civil War. What do you think? I can do this all day, or I ain't thinking that thing. Let me know down below, and if you liked this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until whenever, if ever, compromise where you can, but where you can't, don't. There are companies out there who have consistently produced great games over a period of time, and they have built that trust. This new company is charging more for their games but have not built that trust, and on top of that, reviews by people that I do trust are saying things like, yeah, it's a good game but too expensive.